Hey everybody, Justin, Amps and Sound. I get asked a lot about what do I own and why. The only thing missing at this moment is my ether closed, but those are being lent to a buddy, so here we are. Alright, so why do I own the three headphones in front of us, and what are they? So, starting with ZMF Veritas, opens, I should say, should kind of go out without saying, but I think they are one of the most tonally neutral choices you can have. They're super fast, really accurate. They don't exaggerate anything. They kind of give you a little bit of euphony without muddying the lows and without extending the highs to sort of being unrealistic and harsh. Uh, they're the artisanal choice, handcrafted by two of the nicest people in the profession, and always worth owning. Always worth owning anything from Bevan and Zach, or Zach and Bevan. Uh, Always cut cabled though, with aftermarket cable choices. I eventually want to get a set of Axios for each of these, but you got to pay for it first, so not quite there yet. But I do have the correct length for my space. I have a relatively small room with a really comfy couch. My amp is always here, and so I needed at least 12 feet, and so all of my cables for each headphone is at least 12 feet. Number two is sort of our stalwart choice, if you will. It is the HD800S. If you ever had an HD800, you know that they gave all the imaging that you ever wanted, but were a little sibilant, and the sibilance was tempered with the S modifications. Um, I think that 800, the thing to always know about that is that if you're getting into the hobby and you want one of the best manufactured headphones ever, the 800 is certainly one of those kinds of default choices. And if you're coming from speakers where you've had a lot of really good opportunities to hear imaging, they are one of the very, very best choices for imaging. And so to own them is to still enjoy the benefits of intimacy that headphones offer us and still get the imaging that speakers promise. Third choice is the LCD 5s. So I've had the LCD 5s now for about a year, and I've heard the M500s. If you can't afford the 5s, the M500 is the next best choice, in my opinion. But what the 5s really give us is the promise that Odyssey has always given us wonderfully good sounding headphones. The sacrifice has always been size and weight, and these are the first sort of consumer friendly versions. The ear cups they're beautiful, they're appropriately sized, they're not super huge. The headband is realistic and usable, and they weigh like a quarter of what the original LCD2s weighed. And I have always loved the LCD2s. I've had a set going back, 10 years to the bamboo cupped LCD2s, with the suede pads were kind of my go-to for the very longest. I tend to be someone who appreciates musicality more than technicality. The 5s give you the technical prowess of the LCD 4, with the most domestically friendly, most livable, or consumer friendly, most livable package they've ever produced. They're light, they're easy to drive. They still like power, but they're easier to drive than the 4s ever were. They image incredibly well. They do everything right. All three examples do everything right. Little differences. This has the speed of a planner. This has the imaging that is very, very difficult to compete with. This has the neutrality, and almost the speed of a planner in coned driver. All three are wonderful choices. This will run on anything and is given texture with tube amps. These love tube amps and are both given texture and body with tube amps, but also protected against sort of the HD800 sibilance. These love drive, and so having a lot of current available if you need it, they'll sound good with almost anything. They sound exceptional with a good tube amp. And so whether you're running one of our flagships or you're running our entry level Kenzie, all three of these would run perfectly on both, and you'd be wise to have any of these in your stable. So what's an alternative cheaper, what is a cheaper alternative for each of these sound signatures? Because I think everybody tries to ask that. Sometimes they don't have the words for it. So if you can't afford an LCD5, buying the M500 is the next best answer, hands down, bar none, well worth owning. If you can't buy the HD800S, Massdrop's 600 or 6XX from Massdrop gives you a taste of that same flavor for like 1/5 the cost. An amazingly good choice. I own one. We keep it just for testing because it's such a good headphone. If you can't own the Verite closed or open, the Atticus or Icon would be, they're warmer choices and it would be what I would choose. But if you weren't choosing that, then going with an Artour would be the sort of more in the more neutral ZMF family sonically. But any of Zach's more entry-level headphones, I think lean more on the musical side. And as you go up the range, you get the, maybe a little bit more mellowing of the musicality and a heck of a lot more detail, technical prowess. So, anything you get from him, you're going to get a good choice on. Anyway, thanks guys. I hope you enjoy.